about the governor's return. Everybody has been talking about supporters of the governor. We've been looking at, peace, no peace. In fact, we had the Senator Aline Dume also talking, we don't want any more crisis in Rivers State and so on, blah, blah, blah. Everybody has been talking all about political struggle, supporters of this and that. But I think we need to look at even more detailed other issues, the ones that concern our everyday lives. Now, before the emergency rule came, before the suspension of the governor, in the midst of all of the political battles that we saw in the state, there were some developmental plans that were put in place by the government. Some projects were even commissioned, some were initiated, but then what happened to those projects? That's the key question. What happened to those projects? Which brings me to look at some of the sectors. I might not be able to touch on all of them because we don't have all the time. In infrastructure, roads, bridges, name it, one of the major was the Port Harcourt Ring Road, which later we saw upon visiting sites. Our correspondents, we went round to different sections of the Ring Road and saw that contractors had left site. They left site because, of course, for the emergency rule situation and all that followed. Reasons, well, we don't know, but we know that they were not on ground. Now, where are we with that project? What is the government doing? What is the assembly doing? Are they calling the contractors? Are we saying, why did you leave? Is it a problem of the contractors saying we need more money, even though you have been paid 70% up front, which would mean that you shouldn't ask for more money? What exactly is happening there? I think these sort of conversations are what we should be having now. The Trans-Calabari Road is another very significant project that was initiated by the Governor Fubara administration before where we are now. Now things are back. Where are we with that? How far has that gone? I don't know how many percent completion at the time. I don't want to be too forward and give a percentage, and then that's not the reality. But the last time we saw, the work had been going on extensively. Now, what is happening? The Emoha Calabari Tema Junction Road was also initiated by the government. It was completed, though. The Aleto Eteo Ibubu Road was also completed. There are many other roads, but I have to point out the first ones that have been left suspended. Now, there are many others that needs work. If you look at Port Harcourt City, Obiakpo, now we have a problem of flash floods, bad roads in some parts. I don't know if you looked at what's happening on the NTA road from the Oswoba axis down stretch towards the Rumokuta axis. It's an eyesore. I know that this morning, early in the morning on my way to work, the Obirikwere Bridge linking to NTA Road, they cordoned off, there was a red tape on one lane of the road. I don't know if it's because people are working or want to commence work. I didn't see machines, but I know that they had red taped that one section of that road. I don't know what's happening there. In education, there were also a few things that the government was doing. And one of them included remodeling the schools. Oh, yes. The administration was looking at reconstructing and equipping the secondary schools. In Kuroma, in Tai, in Okrika Grammar School was one. Then there were several others that they were still working on that wasn't completed. In fact, there was problem with teachers, number of teachers in these schools and communities. And there were conversations. I remember speaking with the board chairman at the time, and talking about how they were trying to get the number of the schools, how many they need to work on, teachers that will be posted to these places, the places that those teachers will stay in some of those communities when they are posted there, and teachers that are not going to the communities they are posted to. There were loads of problems in that area that were being looked into before the abrupt stop of, government as a result of the emergency rule. What is happening there now? What is happening there now? Recruitment of teachers people have been shouting, we need more teachers. The welfare of the teachers was also a problem. So how far now? Was it that in the course of the emergency rule, perhaps the governor was already planning on the areas he was going to look at and plans already in motion? Because I'm saying this because we heard the FCT minister say, even during the emergency rule, he had been constantly in touch with the governor, and perhaps they had inputs in who was appointed as what and what. So while they were discussing all of that, were they also discussing developmental issues as it concerns Rivers people, which is my number one concern? Were they also discussing, okay, this is the projects we have to do. This is what we have to do with employment. This is how, as soon as we come back, this is where, this is what. Were those conversations held? I don't know because I wasn't there, but it's a question we need to ask. And I think this is where the attention of Rivers people should be going to now. In the healthcare sector, of course, we knew how the government was talking about the zonal hospitals that needed to be upgraded and put in place before we even talk of the primary healthcare centers, where we have a huge decay. And there was even a plan. I remember when they had the economic summit at the Obiwali Cultural Center, and there was a talk about a plan for so time the zonal hospitals, and then should be done, and then we look at the primary healthcare centers, and then trying to even get more nurses because those facilities are short-staffed. Yes, we have some as much as 2 nurses in some, 1 nurse, in fact, some no nurse. And so on and so forth, which was a big problem. So the revitalization of the hospitals and those facilities were very important. The construction of some which were actually constructed, contracts were awarded for some of them. I know the one in Bori, the Bori and Omok zonal hospitals, and there were even talks about that one being abandoned and overtaken by grasses now. I don't know how true that is. There was also the ambulance service, emergency service, ambulance service that the state government also tried to resuscitate, which started working. Where are they now under the emergency rule? Because there was a lot of problem. Fueling, the bottleneck that was required before there's an emergency. They need fuel in the car. We're supposed to release the money. You have to sign here. Somebody is dying for something that they call emergency. These were some of the problems that they had. And the people sitting on top of some of these monies, who are the so-called ogas or madams, for whatever reason, don't feel like the work should be handled as an emergency. I don't want to mention names because I need to keep my source. But these are some of the things that have been happening in there during the emergency rule. It was a big problem. It was a big problem for them. Unfortunately, they really could not or cannot just come out and begin to mention but it's happening there. Sometimes it's as bad as you now have some of the supervisors using their monies to fill these ambulances just to keep things running. Now, emergency rule is over. What's going to happen? Who is talking about these areas? I'm just trying to help us shift our attention from, we no go agree. This one, they not welcome us. This one, they welcome us. This one, they did not do. This one. These are the issues that should be making the rounds now. This is the agenda you should be setting for the government. How? These questions need to be asked and answers need to be provided. I will tell you one that was even very, very interesting for me, that before we go into agriculture is on the other side, but before we go there was one that the governor was working on before this, and it will be a good thing if we can see it come to light. I'll tell us. Remember when the government looked at wanting to revive tourism and the beaches in Rivers State. Aha. And the governor even visited the Port Harcourt Tourist Beach. Remember? I can't remember. I think it was the Landmark. That was the company that was mentioned at the time. That was what was on social media flying. I think it was Landmark. If I remember correctly, the suspended commissioner for information, we had a conversation around this. I'm pretty sure that was the group, because at the time, the Lagos Calabar Coastal Way affected Landmark, and there was a lot. In fact, it was a big battle between themselves and the government. And then eventually in Rivers State, we hear that they are the ones that were going to be in charge of trying to resuscitate the Port Harcourt Tourist Beach. It was something that the government was also looking at in the tourist